So for this session, we will, for this week, we will investigate the manner to create connection between a web server and a database server. In our case, we will use WAMP server, and in WAMP server there is an Apache server and MySQL server together. But normally here in concrete applications, we can find our client. So our client here is a web browser. Here PHP server, and here database server. So the client sent an HTTP request to the server. After that, a server can communicate with database server. So for this reason, we have to create here connection. After that, through this connection, we can send, so the PHP server can send an SQL query and get the response from this server. So this is the response. After that, here prepare HTTP response and send this HTTP response to the client, and the client displays this response. It is clear? Do you hear me? Okay, so this schema is clear for you? Okay, so for our for this course, we will talk about how we can create this connection and how we can perform SQL queries between PHP server and database server. Databases with PHP 5. So in our case, we said that we will use MySQL. Why we opt for MySQL server? Because MySQL server presents a great market penetration. It is easy to get started. It is an open source license for most users, and it is very fast. The problem of MySQL server, commercial license for commercial redistribution, but it has a reasonable scalability. So what is MySQL? MySQL is a database system used on the web and that runs on a server. It is ideal for both small and large applications, and it is very fast, reliable, and easy to use. So MySQL uses standard SQL and compiles on a number of platforms, and it is free to download and use. Any questions about MySQL? Okay. So the question is how we can create a connection between a PHP file and a database. So the MySQLi PHP extension was written from the ground up to support the new features of the MySQL 4.1 and 5.0 client API. The improvements from the old MySQL extension include the following. So using MySQLi, we can make native band, prepare, execute functionality. Also, MySQLi supports cursor. It provides many SQL state error code, and it can perform multiple statements from one query, and it offers index analyzers. For this reason, we will use MySQLi. So to connect to the database, we can use the function, the predefined function MySQL, or the extension MySQLi. So in our course, we will use MySQLi function. So MySQLi dot underscore connect opens a connection to MySQL server, and there are some parameters like host name, username, password, database name, etc. We can use also PHP 5 with the creation of an object MySQLi. So in this reason, we will write MySQLi equal new MySQLi. Okay. So now I will share my desktop to see how we can create. I will just, this is an example of a connection. In this example here, we have to specify here the IP address of the MySQL server. So when we write localhost, that means the MySQL server is on the same machine, on the same PC. For this reason, I write localhost or 127.0.0.1. Okay. After that test, here is the name of the user. Name of user. Here is the password of the user, and here is the name of the database. So if empty con, that means the connection is not created. In this case, we will exit with we will use die. So die print this message, this error message, and after that exit the application. As we will print connected to with MySQLi get host info. Okay. Any questions about MySQLi? Word is the name of the database. The name of the database. So now I will explain you how we can create a database using MySQL server, and how we can use WOMP, how we can execute PHP files, and how we can create this PHP files, etc. Your attention, please. Can you see my desktop? Okay. So here I have in my desktop WAMP. I make double click on WAMP server. After that, here I can find this is WAMP, my WAMP server. WAMP server online with the green color. It is clear? Can you see WAMP server, the icon of WAMP server? Okay. After that, I click with the left button of my mouse, and I will obtain a menu. So in this menu, I have www directory. This is the folder when I can prepare my applications. So in this folder, I will create my applications. There is also PHP my admin. So PHP my admin give me an access to my to PHP server, to my SQL server, and I can create through this menu a database with tables, with I can insert some tuples, etc. And localhost here, localhost to access to all my applications. It is clear? Okay, let's begin with the first www directory. So this is the directory. You can access to this directory on C. After that, the program WAMP. After that, the folder www. So here I will add. I will create my an application. So I will create a new folder here. For example, here I will create new folder Jeddah female, and in this folder I can create my PHP code. I will create a new text. After that, I will write my PHP code. PHP echo hi Jeddah female. File save as, and here I will write, for example, example1.php, and in the text save as type I will write all files. Save. So here this is my PHP file, in the type PHP file. After that, if I want to execute this PHP file, I will return to my WAMP server. I click with the left button of my mouse, and after that I click on localhost. Localhost. So in the localhost here, I can find I will modify in English because here it is in French, English version. I find server configurations, tools, your projects, your aliases, etc. So for me, I will see your projects, and on your projects I will find all the folders created in www folder. For example, here Jeddah Female, and in Jeddah Female I will find all the files created here. So for example, example1.php, and in example1.php I will find Hi Jeddah Female. So it is clear now for you how we can create and execute a PHP file using WAMP server. Any questions about this first part? Okay, so I will return to my WAMP server, to www directory here. I prepared examples.php, so you can find it on Blackboard, examples.php. And in this examples.php, you can find welcome.php, colors.php, so the previous examples of the previous chapter. And also I prepared some examples related to the connection to database and how we can select some tuples from this database. Okay? Good. So let's begin with the first example. So here in localhost, I will click now on your project. Sorry. On your project, I will click on what now? So now I want to execute my example. So here in your project, I have to click on what? Yes, examples PHP. So I will find all these examples. For example, welcome.html. I will create name Ahmed, email ahmed@seu.edu.sa. After that, when I click on validate, I will obtain welcome Ahmed. Your email is address@seu.edu.sa. So here, can you give me the name of the PHP file? Here we execute. Can you give me the name of PHP file? Here, what is the name of PHP file? Welcome. Very good. Welcome.php. So we can, for example, see welcome.php here. An example, welcome.php. This is the file, and in this file I write PHP echo $get name, your email address, PHP echo $get email. So you can also execute the rest of all the examples. Any questions now? It is clear? Okay. Now I will create my database using my SQL server. So to access to my SQL server, I will click here. After that, I will click on WAMP. After that, I have to click on what? I have to click on what to access? No, not stop all services. No. To PHP my admin. PHP my admin, not my SQL. Okay? We click on PHP my admin. So here we find all the databases created on PHP my admin. Here, for example, I have created the database test, Royal Hotel Performance Schema. There are some default databases like MySQL, and we can create any database here. So to create a new before creating database, let's see together MySQL, this default database, MySQL. So in MySQL, I can find the table user. This is the table user. And in the table user here, for the host, localhost or 127.0.0.1 or only one, the user is root. And the password is empty. So this is the username and the password name used when we want to create a connection to this database. It is clear? Okay. So if you want to connect or to make connection to the database using other login and password, you have to modify this username and password. Now we will see together how we can create a table. How we can create a database. After that, how we can create a table. So to create a database, a new database, we click on New in the left here. You can see it, New. And here I have to provide a name of database. For example, Female, Jeddah Female, or IT230. IT230. This is the name of my database. After that, I click on Create. Database IT230 has been created, so I can find IT230 here or here. It is clear how we can create a new database? Okay, after that, I click on this database from this one or from this menu or the other one, and when I click on this database, I can create a new table. For example, here my table is students. I have to provide the name of the table and the number of columns, for example 3. And after that, I click on Go to create this database, this table. Sorry. It is clear? Now, just for the user and password in my SQL server, the user is root and the password is empty. This is the default login user and password. And when I want to create a connection with my SQL server, I have to provide the user and the password. So just I want to explain you when can I find the login, the user and the password in my SQL. So in my SQL database, in the table users, we can find it. It is clear? Manel, it is clear? Okay. After that, so the first step now is to create our database. So I create my database. The second one is to create a table. So my table, the name of my table is students, and the number of columns in this table is 3. After that, I have to click on Go. Go. So when I click on Go, here I will obtain a form, and I have to specify the name of the different columns of this table. You can see it, this form. Good. So for example, the first column is ID. It is int. The second one is name. For example, varchar with a length 20, and age is also int. So here I created a table, students, with 3 columns. The first one is ID, the second one is name, the third one is age. It depends of our modeling or of our design. So we can prepare an ID as int or as string. So here we have to specify the type of this ID. I can make text, varchar, int, numeric, date and time, etc. This is according to our design. How? So now in our session, I just make the ID int, the name varchar with the 20 as length, and age int. Okay. After that, I have to click on save here. Do you see save? Save. So here I have my table students. I can click on this table, students. When I click on students, I will execute the SQL query select star from students. If I want to insert a new student, I just click on insert here. Insert. For example, the ID is 1, the name is Ahmed, the age is 23. When I click on Go, here, Go to insert this tuple, I can insert into IT230.student ID name age values 1 Ahmed 23. So here in In structures, I can see the structure, SQL. For example, I want to select all. Here I have 1 Ahmed 23, the first tuple. I can insert another tuple, for example, 2 Muna 24. Go. So in browse, I can find 1 Ahmed 23, 2 Muna 24. It is clear. So now I want to create another table in the same database. So I click on IT230 here, and after that I can specify the name of the second table, for example, and structures, with number of columns 4. Now I click on Go. After that I have to specify the ID name field, for example, department, here Varshar 12, Varshar 13 or 15, department Varshar 20, save. So here I will obtain 2 tables. Any questions about how we can create a database? Okay, so question ID name, can I change it? Yes, of course. Yes. So you want to change the name of the column, not the value of a tuple. This is your question. So you want to change what? The name of the column? Okay. So to change the name of the column in the structure, for example, students, here, in the structures, this is name, for example, I click here on change. For example, name, I will write last name. Save. So in this case, name will be last name. It is clear, Suha? Okay. Now I have a database and I want to create a connection between a PHP file and this database. So, for example, here I prepared test database with city as the table. I prepared also example database with persons. So in persons I have created 3 persons, Muna, Naif and Ahmed. And now I want to create this connection. So to create a connection with a database, I will use MySQL Connect. So I will use MySQL Connect. Let's move now to examples, PHP connection database. This is my file. So here I want to connect localhost. Why I write localhost here? Localhost. Why localhost? localhost because my SQL server is in the same machine. So I can, for example, create a connection with another MySQL server, another database. In this case, I have to modify localhost by the IP address of the machine. It is clear? Okay, root. Root is again, okay. Here, I will prepare a new page. I have a machine. This is my machine. I have in this machine my SQL server and my PHP server. So here, when I specify localhost, that means my SQL server is in the same machine, in the same one. Okay? But I can, for example, prepare, this is my machine. This is another machine with another IP address. This is my PHP file here, and this is my SQL server. So now, in my PHP file, if I want to create a connection from this PHP file to this MySQL server, I have to write in my example here, MySQLi connect, MySQLi connect, and in the first parameters here, I have to write what? Not localhost, but the IP address of my SQL server. And our example is 192.168.3.100 and not localhost. It is clear? Okay. Edit. So in my example here, root, what's the meaning of root? Root. The name of the user, not same machine. Root is the name of the user. Yes. So in my SQL, when I create a connection here, I have to specify the IP address of the server, and our example is localhost, the login, and the password of the database. So in our example, login is root, and the password is empty string. So this is the password, empty string. After that, test. Test is what? Very good. The name of the database. So in this example, I just make a connection. If the connection is okay, I will write a success with my SQL get host info of the link. And if the connection is not okay, I will display an error message. Let's execute this file. So to execute this file, how we can execute this file? I have to do what to execute this file? How can I execute connection database? So I just click on WAMP here. After that, localhost. After WAMP, localhost. After that, I move to your projects. In your projects, I click on examples PHP. After that, I will click on the connection database.php here. I will obtain success localhost via TCP/IP. That means the connection is okay. It is clear? Okay, let's move to the second examples. So here I will make a select with a fetch row. Now we will create a connection, and after that we want to create a query or to execute a query. After that, I will process this query to display all the values of this query. So here in the first line, in line number 2, I will create an object connection with my SQL iConnect localhost root empty string test. After that, I will create connection query here. That means I want to execute a query. And this is an oriented object manner. When I write connection minus greater query, that means I want to execute this query. So can you give me so I want to do what via this query? I want to do what? Delete, execute, to select. Select what? Name, very good. And from city, city represents what here? City. City represents a table. Yes, a table. And I can find city on the database. The name of the database is what? Test. So here, if I go to WAMP, PHP my admin, after that in test, in table city, this is table city, there is name AAA here. Do you see it? Only one city. I can insert another city. For example, this city is Jeddah, KSA. So now I have two cities. The first one is AAA, the second one is Jeddah. It is clear? So let's execute this file. Let's execute this file. So this file, the name of this file is select fetch row. Before executing this file, after that I will use while row equal result fetch row. That means there is another row print row 0. So row 0 here, row 0 that means the first column, row 1 that means the second column, row 2 that means the third column, etc. Let's execute this file. So in localhost examples PHP, I will execute select fetch row .php. I will obtain two values. The first one is AAA, the second one is Jeddah. It is clear? Okay. So if I add, for example, here in test, here I will insert, for example, another one. City, insert, here for example Riyadh, go, and here and I make refresh, I will obtain three values, AAA, Jeddah and Riyadh. Any questions? Okay, what does mean this manner? Okay, so in our example, this is when I write connection, this is equivalent to dot in Java. So in oriented object language, I have an object and a method. So in Java, I write connection.query to execute this method on the object connection. But in PHP, I use this symbol. It is clear? Okay. Now, just for this example, keep in the mind that if I use fetch row, the method fetch row on result, in this method I will use the index row 0, row 1, row 2, etc. But there are other methods to get the value of a result. The second manner is fetch associative. This is an example. So in this example, I want to make connection to localhost with root, empty string as a password, and the name in our example is example database. After that, I will make the connection. After that, I will prepare select name age from persons ordered by last name. That means there is a table persons that exist on the database example database. After that, I will create the result with my SQL query. This is another manner to execute a query. My SQL underscore query. This is, I will use directly the method. In the last manner, I use the oriented objected manner. My SQL, after that minus greater query. Here I will use my SQL fetch associative query, and the result is an associative array. I will write a row with the name of the column, last name, row with the name of the column age. So in the Fetch row, I will use 0, 1, 2, 3, but here I will use the name of the columns. Let's execute this example, fetch associative. So I will fetch associative. This is the example. I will obtain Ahmed 20, Muna 18, and Naif 31. So let's verify it in PHP my admin. This is the example database. This is the table persons, and here we can find 3 tuples. It is clear. Line. Can you give me the line, Suha? So here the command is in green. Print. Here, yes. This is not to print, but printf. This is in new method. Printf, that means a formatted. We will print with a format, so a predefined format or predefined template. So in printf, I will write the first value is as a string, the second one is as a string. This is the format, and after that I have to provide the values. So that means row last name is here for the first one, and row age will be here. So in the result, I will obtain the name and age between here. I will obtain Ahmed 20, Muna 18, Naif 31. This is the template. So I can modify it like this. Save. So I will obtain this result. Here is formatted template. How I want to display my result. It is clear, Suha? Okay.